all the time. We'll use AI to help us spit out documents quicker. We'll use AI to help us prototype stuff quicker. But we're also very hands-on. For example, we do not use AI-generated code in any of my products. Why? Because AI-generated code is trash right now. And by the way, when you spend loads of time debugging AI-generated code, you may as well have just written it properly in the first place yourself.
Welcome to the O-Tech Talks podcast, where it's all about working on technologies. You will hear the latest tech information, and your host, Kashif Manzoor, brings together product overviews, how-tos, best practices, tips and tricks, and troubleshooting
Welcome
techniques.
to OpenTechTalks.tv, and today we have a guest speaker, J.B. Benjamin, CEO and founder of Kryotech Limited, and some other startups or organizations which he is founder or the CEO of those, and we will get to know all those details from Benjamin. So Benjamin, welcome to the Open Tech Talks.
Hey, it's great to be here, man. Seriously, as always. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if someone want to know, he just tuned to the podcast today episode and he's curious about to know who's Benjamin.
Okay, so who is Benjamin? So basically, I'm a CEO of 3 different tech companies, actually. My first one, Kryotech, is where I created the world's first post-quantum encrypted messenger. So what is post-quantum? Let's deal with the first buzzword of the day. It's basically a buzzword. It just means that you're using encryption algorithms which are in the lattice-based cryptographic family, as opposed to the current standard of using elliptic curve. Now, lattice-based cryptography is about 300 to 400 times stronger than elliptic curve. And the theory is that if you were to subject it to a pounding by a quantum supercomputer, it would survive. So we are the first people, actually. I'm the first person to deploy that at scale. We have over 80,000 users now in over 100 countries. And that is with zero marketing, because the way I built it was literally just me, myself, and another guy. I've not had big investors, big VCs, or anybody else like that behind me, because if I did, I wouldn't have been allowed to build it, especially as it has 0 ads and does 0 tracking and does 0 logging and actually allows true message deletion. So that's the one company. At that one company, we also have Vox Crypto, where we have solved another problem in the crypto space, which is, how do you send loads of transactions to people? How do you send your crypto and your money to people without spending all your money in transaction fees? Because Ethereum is nuts. So I wrote a smart contract that is able to bundle all of your transactions into a single gas fee. So say you sent $50 to 500 people, normally that's going to be it's going to be 500 times each gas fee. And as we know, it goes up. It goes up based on demand. So by the time you hit that 500th person, you're going to be spending more than what you're sending just to do the transaction. Now, with the smart contract I've written, that's no longer a problem. You end up with one gas fee, and it's working out at the moment about 30% of what the totality would be if you were to do it separately. So it's still a massive saving. It also gets better. If you look at our competitors who do this, they end up taking your money off of you, putting it into a lovely, juicy smart contract that becomes this huge attack target, and then they split it off to where the money goes, which means you end up with a lot of people who end up being hacked a lot. I created a pass-through smart contract. So there's no juicy attack vector for anybody to gain access to here. It's very clean and it's very fast. And then I have my other company, Gorgon Blackbox, which is a private military contractor company where we take the technologies I develop on my other 2 companies and we put them to military, private and public security utility. So I am very busy, and I'm also father of 4 children who all live with me as well, 3 of whom are teenagers, and my youngest is 7.
Oh, that's lovely.
As well.
That's lovely. All right. Thank you so much, Benjamin, for sharing it. Now let's drill down to these companies. But before going into companies, and which I see is both crypto and then another one was both primarily on a blockchain. But prior starting to these companies, what you were doing?
Pardon?
prior starting to these companies,
Mhm.
before starting these companies, what you were doing?
Oh, right. Well, what was I doing? I was being a father of 4 children. At the time, it was 2 or 3. I was working for everybody else but myself.
Okay.
In the last 5 years, I've not had to work for anybody else. I just work for me. And since doing that, I have less white hair in my beard, and I am a so much happier person. I don't have steady income anymore, but when you're working for the man, how steady is that income anyway? I mean, I remember in one of the jobs I was working at, I was a product manager at one of the leading corporate law practices in the world, managing this
Right.
£9 million CRM project, which was an absolute turd. They should have just gone with SharePoint, which they did after spending all of that money and 9 years of dev on anyway, by the way. You know, I was on almost 200 grand a year. I was poor. I was classified as working poor. How does that
Right.
sentence even make sense? It's like the word oxymoron is in itself dumb. You know, working, poor. If you're working, how are you poor? And if you're poor, how are you working? You know, so when you start realizing, seeing things like that, you go, yeah, nah. There's my skills are worth more than this. I'm generating these people tons of money, and yet I see less than 1% of it. I mean, when I used to work in sales, I was a lead UI UX designer for Harvey's
Right.
Furniture. Harvey's Furniture was a massive European furniture company owned by the Steinhoff Group. Now, they went bust during the pandemic because who's walking into big superstores buying furniture during a pandemic? The thing that's
Right.
ironic is that while I was working for them, I actually started something which would have saved them. I actually was working on a project where we were creating what would have been the world's first entirely virtual stores. We were actually working on VR stores at Harvey's
Right.
Furniture back in the mid 2000s before it was a thing. You know, we actually had to deal with Unity and everything, but they shut it down because they said it was too. Nobody's ever going to buy stuff virtually, JB. What's wrong with you? People will always come into shops and just walk around for 4 hours looking at dusty furniture. No one will buy stuff online. So it became a whole thing. And one of the things I also noticed while working for them, particularly in designing ads and stuff like that, was I could directly see how much money I was making for them. And when you see that, the art and the stuff that you've created for these people brings in millions. I mean, like literally millions in the space of a couple of hours of revenue generation. You're like, whoa, hold on. These guys have got me working almost 24-hour runs. I get no time off even when I'm ill. I don't even get a free lunch, and I'm paying for the privilege to come in here and do this for these people. So I decided I ain't doing that no more. So now I just work for myself. I don't work for nobody else. There is no, I would say my advice to anybody coming up in this world is get out of the loop as quickly as possible and monetize yourself and your own skills.
You're pushing me. I'm a full-time employee, so this is all working for.
Well, you know what it's like when you work for other people, man. You have no control of any kind.
Right.
It's like you are a slave, you know.
Okay, all right. So I will remember the slave. All right. Okay, so did you start this in parallel with while you were working, or did you just cut it down? No, I'm just going to stop and then.
Actually, no, I did. Yeah, I did. I mean, actually, okay. So I'll spin the clock back a minute. Now, I did not set out to create Vox Messenger. I didn't set out to innovate and revolutionize. I was actually just trying to keep myself occupied because, like so many Black guys who have children, I had baby mama problems. There, it's true stereotype in that instance. And I am pleased to report that after 8 years, yes, ladies and gentlemen, 8 years of court battles, all 4 of my children live with me now. But prior to that point, I wanted to stop myself from going mad. I didn't want to become an alcoholic. I didn't want to become a mobilizer or one of these other things that happens to fathers who end up losing access to their kids. So I was like, right, I'm going to occupy myself. What can I fix? Looked around. Communications. So I decided I was going to build the strongest messenger out there, and that's what I did. And I was working for everybody else. I mean, if you look at my CV on LinkedIn, you can see that while I was starting Kryotech back in 2017, I was a product manager of a £9 million project working for one of the biggest corporate law practices in the world. I was lead UI UX designer for Siemens AG, working at their capital and Siemens Dam in Berlin for a year. I was a building site laborer. I was a security guard. I was a senior lecturer of computer science. I have done pretty much every job. I've even been a chef and worked as a short fry cook at one point or another. And the reason I did that is because the only way I could survive in these jobs was actually knowing that when I came home, I was doing something else. So for me, building my companies and building my product and building what would be my dream, it seemed like a good idea. If I'm going to work for the man, I need something else out there that is going to make me feel happy. Other people, they will have something like, oh my God, I gotta watch my stories, man. I gotta watch my stories. So for them, they're coming home being happy is watching their stories on TV. I'm a little bit more aspirational than that. So for me, I knew that as long as I was coming home building something that was for me, I would be okay still working for everybody else. So I've done every job you can pretty much think of really to get to this point. I wasn't one of these people that left uni and then did one thing, blamed the industry, and then wandered off. No. In fact, if you check with my uni, I believe at this time I'm the only person out of the 40 people in that class who is still actually working in an industry sector connected to that which they did their degree for. Everybody else in my class became accountants. They became digital marketers. They became lawyers. Not one of them is doing anything in 3D, or coding or anything like that,
Okay, got it. So we got to set the record straight, that how you started it. Now let's move into this messenger, which you're saying it's a more secured messenger, right?
Yeah.
As our audience are more technical folks, and while you started building it, you gave an idea that why you want to build a best communication. So what was the thought process while choosing the technology or building it?
Okay, so
was there any specific mindset that, okay, I want to do which someone else is not doing it? It was just a random that, okay, let's start building it and then you see what comes.
Okay, so it was kind of focused. Bear in mind, we've had Cambridge Analytica. We have sat by and watched as Facebook have sold our data to the highest bidder. They've literally sold our digital souls, our digital self. And for what? For us to be manipulated, for us to have our political decisions co-opted, for us to be psychologically manhandled. So I thought to myself, when you look at humans, we are our best when we're able to communicate properly. If you look at research studies, you'll find that humans which are subjected to obvious and overt and consistent surveillance develop mental health issues. It's the same as if you give mice no privacy in their own little maze and you just focus on them and make them feel watched, they develop mental health issues. They start eating each other. And it's kind of what we have happening now. Bear in mind, for the longest time, the deal was, as an individual, was I give you my data, you give me a product or service for free, and it's meant to make my life better. But that's not what's happened. What's happened is all of your data is targeted, and in return, you are given mental health issues, and your children are targeted for also giving mental health issues with the very same platforms. It's a beautiful system. It's like a beautiful Ouroboros loop where you are productized. You become the product. In fact, you are the unwitting product. And I've always I've come from a background of rebellion and revolution. I was born in the 80s. I was born in the December 80s. I'm the last batch of Gen X. I was raised in Birmingham in Bordesley, which is where the Peaky Blinders are from. I was raised in the 80s when my mother was going to protest marches for poll tax riots. My mother was involved in that. I was going to protest marches for freeing the Birmingham Six. I come from a background where it's about helping as many people as possible. So when I saw the industry, I actually went to Y Combinator. I'm actually an alum of the Y Combinator Startup School. And I didn't win. Why I didn't win? Because I will not play the game the way we're told to play it. We're told to do it this way. Do trend analysis and market analysis, man. Find something that you can build that's really useful to people. Yeah. And then you can exit, man. Because it's all about the exit, dude. Your value is based on how many exits you've had, man. Sorry, no. If you've got a lot of exits, you know what that tells me? It tells me that you do not finish anything. It tells me that you're literally just there for the pump and dump, which means I have no interest in working with you. You know, and this is what we're trained to be like in Y Combinator. Y Combinator trains you to be that way. Pioneer trains you to be that way. You know, when I started building Vox Messenger in 2017 and I was going up for funding, all I ever got was, JB, why are you building this? Nobody needs this. We've got WhatsApp and Signal. We don't need this. You're building a device. You're building something for terrorists. And that's what I used to get a lot. You know, I used to have people question my character because I built something that was hyper secure. The reality is, as humans, we are our most authentic when we feel privacy. I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, your use of Facebook and Twitter is doing exactly the same thing to you. Doom scrolling is an actual psychological problem. Now, with my applications, I do not have anything in there that promotes that kind of behavior at all. I don't have ads. I don't have these incentivizers and things like that. We just build a product that does what it's meant to do and does what it says on the tin. And meanwhile, in the background, I will protect and cover your back, Jack, to make sure that I'm not selling your data.
All right. Okay. So I will go back to again. While you started developing it,
Yes.
how you developed it? Did you do some mock-up design? Because we need to get into some tech.
I just built it. I literally just built. I jumped into Java. I jumped into Kotlin, and I just got building. Look, you can. My approach to building products is I don't do market analysis. I don't do trend analysis. I do something that I call world analysis. I look at everything. I look at world politics. I look at the geopolitics around us. I look at socioeconomics. I actually look at what's happening in society. I build my products based on what is actually needed in the incoming technological wave. So when I started sorry, go on.
Sorry, but how you make sure that what you are doing analysis is what the world needs?
Well, it's actually fairly easy. You don't base everything you don't base everything that you think the world needs on just on Western paradigms. You actually look at what's happening in the world and you look at people's need. What is the global need? There is a global need for privacy. There is a global need for us to move away from exploiting personal data for the sake of making money and exploiting personal data. I was already very aware of things like the metaverse, of spatial video, and of the adoption of facial recognition, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. If you look at my PhD projects, I've been kind of playing around with AI since back in 2010, when people were saying it would be we would never have this kind of stuff in our lifetime, and I was already playing with it because I look at what is coming. And it's very easy to see what's coming if we're brutally honest. If we take away the blinders and realize that the West is not the only world population in the world in existence, you suddenly realize there's a whole vast array of markets and projects and products and needs that can be fulfilled and profited from without the need to exploit anybody. Unfortunately, it's easier to exploit people than it is to do something without exploitation.
Okay, got it. So now how you're managing the product? Do you have the product guys? Did you hire the resources teams? How you're running it?
Myself.
You build it, but how you're maintaining it?
I'm a technical founder. Bear in mind, I'm a technical founder, which means I get my hands dirty. I will actually code. God forbid. I also know how to run a Python file myself. Those of us who know the history of certain tech CEOs will know what that joke is referring to. I just built it myself. I got to building, and I spent the first 4 years. It was just me. Then I recruited Gareth Murphin. Gareth Murphin is the ex-coder of Rockstar North. He actually worked on, he was a main name on GTA Vice City, I believe. One of the apps he prior built had over 70 million downloads on Android. Pick Collage is still to this day the most downloaded app. He's my lead coder. I worked with him for years. And if you ask him, he'll say to you that I've given him PTSD from working on post-quantum encryption, because he's actually a games developer, poor guy. But he and I get on really well. I've helped him with a load of his game stuff, so he helped me with this later years. But we don't have huge teams. We don't have huge teams. We run very lean. I built this whole thing for under 100 grand in the end.
Okay, all right. So now if someone wants to start, and if someone wants to do or maybe develop some product or maybe something, what he should be doing it? Is a tech guy or a non-tech guy? Maybe you can answer both of them.
It kind of depends on what your own technical ability is.
Mhm.
If you have technical ability, screw
Mhm.
going around looking for a tech guy. Build it yourself. Just roll up those sleeves, get in there, get dirty. If you are a non-technical,
Mhm.
you want to get technical. And the
Mhm.
reason I say that is because you will always be most easily controlled by that which you do not have the experience in. So I'll give you an example. The amount of people who will go out there and go, oh my God, I've got this idea for a project, and they'll get predated
Right.
upon by all of these, like, oh my God, we're a development house, guys. We can help. We're a remote development house. We'll help you
Right.
realize your dream. And it's only going to cost you 20 grand. And then all you get is nothing but poor code quality. And you'll be lucky if at the end of you spending 20 grand and wasting 6 to 8 months of your life with these people, you'll be lucky if you have a usable product. You'll be
Right.
lucky if you actually even have a usable MVP or viable product. And I'm telling you
Right.
now, you'll be even luckier to get anybody to invest in you off of it. Because guess
Mhm.
what? You don't own it. Because one of the
Mhm.
things that happens with a lot of these development houses, which they
Mhm.
do not make most people aware of, is that unless
Mhm.
you've done proper IP assignment from every
Mhm.
coder involved in that project, you don't
Mhm.
technically own it. There's a reason
Mhm.
why a lot of these MVPs built by development houses do not get funded. Because a lot of
Mhm.
investors, when they see that, even though everybody tells you, "Oh my God, you've got to get some guys to do this for you," when investors see that, they look at it and go, "Okay, so you don't know the product there. You didn't build the product. You paid somebody to build the product. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Have you? And then when the investor looks at this, they want to see that your business understanding is, because if you're not a technical founder, you sure as
Mhm.
hell better be a business founder. And by business
Mhm.
founder, what I mean is if you cannot handle technical stuff yourself, you best be able to handle all the business stuff yourself. You best be an expert in at least one half of this business.
Right.
And if you're not, then if you're not going to be a technical founder and you're not going to be an expert in your business, I'm going
Business.
to tell you now, you're wasting your time and you're wasting your friends and family's money, because the
Mhm.
chances are you're not actually looking at it as your passion project. You're looking at it as a pump and
Mhm.
dump quick exit. And it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to
Mhm.
work because people can smell
Mhm.
that a mile away. They can smell if you've just basically put something up very quickly that you're not really interested in. You're just going to pump and dump it for like maybe half a mil or a cool mil. It ain't going to work.
Mhm.
You'll end
Mhm.
up just taking money off of your friends and family for something that you already know. In about 6 months, you're going to be going, "Oh yeah, guys, I'm really sorry about that. It didn't work anyway." But as you know, yeah, you do your own research. Nothing's guaranteed, and
True.
nobody's happy. You know.
Mhm.
Now, if you're going to become now the other thing I would say is it's not hard to be a technical founder. By the way, the
Mhm.
resources to learn something is so easy to get now. This is the beauty of the 21st century. This is also
Mhm.
the beauty of AI. For
Right.
$20, you can get ChatGPT, and it can become the biggest force multiplier known to man. But at the same time, you also need to know how to use it. By the way, this does not mean that I'm saying to everybody, you can use ChatGPT to become a technical founder. No, you cannot. The code quality that ChatGPT dumps out is diabolically awful. Okay, so just be
Mhm.
aware of this. And investors are becoming smarter.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. I read so much text, and I see so much code, and I see so many artworks now that I can not
Mhm.
just pick out when something's been AI generated. I can 9
Mhm.
times out of 10 pick out the AI generator that was used to do it.
Mhm.
So can investors. So
Mhm.
I would say if you're going to be an inventor and you're going to start up a business, first one, check your authenticity, because
Mhm.
if you're truly authentic with yourself, you'll be willing to get past the barriers. You'll be willing to take on the learnings that you need to do this right. So if you're going to
Mhm.
build a product and it involves code, then I'm sorry, yeah, it is on you. You do need to learn maybe just one of the coding languages or just one of the pieces of technology that's in that stack, because if you
Mhm.
don't, you will get led round the nose by it. Seriously.
Mhm.
And not being funny, by
Got
the
it.
way. This is going to sound kind
Mhm.
of snobby, but if you're
Mhm.
passionate about your subject, there should be no issue about learning new things for it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this. Whoever want to start on it. Okay. So maybe any hard lessons which you learned over the last 5 years, which you want to summarize into 3 points, not more than
3
that.
points. Okay, point number 1. There are no shortcuts. That's the first one. There are no shortcuts. You will get offered shortcuts, but I'm telling you now, they ain't really shortcuts. If it's too good to be true, it is untrue. That's another one. The reason I say that is because there's going to be lots of times where you may have people come up who want to join your project for equity, for money, for something. Just be aware that no matter how good their offering is, you're paying for it somehow. You just got to work out how you're paying for it. You're either paying for it in your time, you're either paying for it in your emotionality. And by the way, what does that mean? People forget this all the time in this space. When you're becoming a founder, you will become emotionally attacked all the time. People will tell you your product isn't worth anything. They'll tell you your company isn't worth anything. They'll tell you that your idea is stupid. They may want to get involved, but then they'll try and cheat you in some way. And as a founder, I'd probably say the most important point out of these 3 points, and 2 of which I've already mentioned, is you need to be incredibly mentally and emotionally strong. Because you're going to take a battering. You really are. So if you like taking a battering, be a founder.
Got it. So now, as you use blockchain and one of the top emerging tech over the last decade, last 5 years, and then suddenly AI, and you mentioned that you were working on the AI, and then suddenly in last 1 year, AI became the mainstream, and everything now is going into AI, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So how you're coping in your products, or how do you see from that angle?
Okay, so I hate to say this, AI does not solve everything, and we're living in this world right now where it's AI everything. It's like, oh my god, I want a cup of coffee. Oh my god, can we bring AI into that? It's like every single thing. It's like, I want my blinds to open and close automatically. Just use a light sound. It's like, cool. Can we bring AI into that? No, AI does not need to be shoehorned and jammed into everything the way everybody is, and that's why we just don't. I would say at the moment we use AI more in our back office operations than we actually do in any of our products, because our products don't need AI. I mean, we have 2 products that use AI out of all of them, and it uses AI for what it should do. So Vox Messenger has no AI. It doesn't need it. You don't need AI in your messaging unless you're trying to work out how to subsume your encryption. So yeah, you should be worried about AI in messaging, people, because if your AI is connected to your messaging, guess what it means? It means your messages aren't private. Your AI is reading it. So think about that, people. We have AI in our we have our own social media network, which is launching in June, called Vox Alive. And we have AI in there. You can generate AI content, but that's what it does. You can use the AI to generate you content, which you can then sell on the marketplace. So it has a use, true utility, and it makes you money. And then we have AI in the algorithms that I use for my computer vision in the markerless camera sync. But again, it's AI for usage. So in terms of back office operations, we use AI all the time. We'll use AI to help us spit out documents quicker. We'll use AI to help us prototype stuff quicker. But we're also very hands-on. For example, we do not use AI-generated code in any of my products. Why? Because AI-generated code is trash right now. And by the way, when you spend loads of time debugging AI-generated code, you may as well have just written it properly in the first place yourself. So I'd say
I tried it. You're right. I tried it. I spent 2 days to debug it, and then it was again going back. True.
Yeah, it's trash. So bear in mind, it's because of what it's trained on. It's trained on the trashiest code quality on GitHub. So of course it's going to be trash. It's trained on the code of students and the inexperienced, because anything that's good code is behind a privacy wall and is not public. Right. Yeah, this is the problem. People kind of are thinking that AI is this solves everything. It really doesn't. And the most complex tasks, it doesn't do very well. I mean, let's not get it twisted. We are nowhere near AGI the way that people are touting in the papers. People need to realize we're in the middle of an AI bubble. AI right now is incredibly dumb. It's just generative AI. It has the rudimentaries, the rudiments of a soul being exhibited, but it's not there. So don't get scared, people, and stop thinking don't stop thinking that it's going to turn a pig's ear into a silk purse for you. It is not. If you want to get good results out of AI, you need to have a good grasp of the English language, because AI is built in English. So that's a stumbling block straight away for like 3/4 of the world, because guess what? English is not the only language. But it is the only one that AIs are predominantly built in. Actually, if anything, people should be worried about is AI is the new colonial imperialism, if you really think about it. Because AI is trained on a tiny subset of data created by a world population that makes up less than a totality of 6% of the entire world. And yet these AIs are being deployed on everything. For everybody. So yeah, I would say my advice to anybody looking at AI is think really carefully. Do you actually need it? Automation is cool, but you don't need AI for automation either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Now, I wanted to relate this question, which we talked about just now on AI. It was the same situation 4-5 years back with the blockchain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then suddenly we started talking about that every problem of the world can be solved through the blockchain.
Well,
and you are implementing, you are doing it. So how I want some comments on that how you see this transition.
Again, you're absolutely right. A few years back, it was blockchain everything. You wanted an ice cream? Oh my God, I'm going to have an NFT proving that it's really my ice cream. Completely pointless. What is a blockchain? Blockchain is a decentralized ledger of truth, of ground truth. How is that achieved? In its most simplest sense, it's achieved by having blocks of information that contain 3 data types. One being the address, if you will, of the code or the block that existed before it, the data inside of it, and then the address of the block after it, which means that it's very hard to hack, because you'd have to change all of the addresses all the way back to the very first block, also known as a Genesis block. Cool. That basically means blockchain is not good for criminality, despite how people claim it is, because it basically shows everything forever. And it's also not great for speed, which is what everybody's trying to use it for, because you're looking at something continuously all of the time, every time. So the way we use blockchain is actually for absolutely what it's needed for, which is when we need to have these distributed ledgers of information which have to have high levels of truth and transparency. So using blockchain for voting in elections, perfect. Not perfect for governments, because it means they can't interfere with the election, of course. Using blockchain to prove how much money you've earned for taxation, perfect. Again, not great for high wealth individuals and governments, because it means they can't hide where the money is. So again, blockchain is actually brilliant for not a lot of the people who claim they want to use it. Right. If you see what I mean. Same thing as with AI. So if you're going to use blockchain, use it for what it's designed for: non-repudiability, authenticity, transparency, accountability. Use it for those things. Don't use it just to connect your car with an NFT, because it's pointless. I'm looking at you, Mercedes. Yeah, having an NFT to open and close your car. Really? I mean, just really? This is unfortunately, this is the problem we have with the 21st century.
Got it.
People get
blinded.
People get blinded by tech. They get blinded by it, unfortunately.
Yes, that's unfortunate, but that's how we are living in a world. So before we conclude the session, maybe a last question. What is the one thing you wish you should know, or you would have known before doing it what you are doing now?
Okay. It's going to sound so horrible. Trust no one. And I really mean that. You are going to have if you have you'll know when you're on a really good idea, because you'll have loads of people coming at you offering what seem like amazing opportunities. Oh my God, so-and-so wants to join my company. Oh my God. And they've told my inexperienced self that it is standard practice to have a contract with them that gives them all kinds of maturity, of equity maturing at these different times. Oh my God, I'm blessed. What a mitzvah. Yeah, no, because the reality is you're a product, you have something they desire. And I'm telling you now, it doesn't matter how many smiles, no matter how pretty they may look and how amazingly they may treat you and how absolutely seen they make you feel. The reality is they want something and they want to profit from it. Remember that. Because the amount of times I've almost lost my company or almost lost my products is like 2 or 3 times already in these years because of trusting the wrong people. And by the way, you will never know they're the wrong people until it's almost too late, because these people on paper always have the best CVs. They always seem to have the best backgrounds. They always seem to have had the best exits. But what you have to think to yourself and remember is, where are they now in their career? Where are they now in their life? If they're rolling up on you and all of their victories were 20, 30 years ago, red flag. So I would say, I wish people had told me that. I never learned that at the beginning. And that's one of the things that, and it will hurt when certain things happen, like when you meet people who you grow close to, because by the way, this is another thing you need to be aware of. The reason I also say don't trust anybody is because people will leverage getting close to you. Especially if you're somebody like me who's got a very open personality. I'm very open. I try to be cheerful and nice with everybody because that's how I want it to be. But the reality is that will get manipulated. It gets seen as weakness and people will try to take advantage of it. So I hate to say it. It's going to sound bad. Trust no one. Trust yourself. Don't even trust family, because when there's big money involved, you'll be surprised at how... You'll be surprised at how people will forget that blood is meant to be thicker than water. Trust, when there is big money involved, you'll realize that your family will be the first ones out to get you. Okay, so it sounds horrible. Trust no one. Trust yourself.
All right. Thank you so much for joining JB, the Open Tech Talks. So if someone wants to reach out to you, any social contact or anything you want to share?
Super easy. My name is very unique. You type in JB Benjamin or JB Webb Benjamin to Google, it literally just brings up me. You can find me on Twitter on JBWB2020. Very easy to find. My massive afro is there going, looking out, doing the stereotypical Twitter profile picture pose, trying to look businesslike. I'm also on LinkedIn. Very easy to find. Just type in JB Benjamin. And you can also, if you type into Google Play Store, Vox Messenger and Vox Crypto, it's there. And we're coming to iOS, but iOS is just like way more complex. I'm a very approachable guy. If you find my phone number, yes, it's out there. You can talk to me and you can message me on Vox Messenger and I will answer your questions. Even if and if you don't get a reply immediately, trust. I'll see it. You will get one at some point. I work in a sector where you need to be able to have accountability and transparency, and that's why I try to give I try to live that which I claim. If you see what I mean.
Great to hear. And appreciate the way you are managing it. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm for joining and sharing your knowledge with the audience. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's been great being here. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the O Tech Talks podcast, and be part of Tech Talks at otechtalks.tv. It's a turf to share ideas, insights, and innovations.